If you thought Dora the Explorer was just a show created to educate children, you're completely wrong. Dora the Explorer was inspired by an extremely tragic story about a Latina girl who lived through hell. If you'd like to know the true and sad story behind what we know today as Dora the Explorer, get ready. Because after watching this video, you'll never see Dora the same way again. It all began in the youth of Dora the Explorer's creator, Chris Gifford, when he was just starting to study communications at university. He had the university assignment of documenting some of the stories he could find in the newspapers. And after searching through several sources, he was drawn to one particular story, a story about an immigrant girl who lost her life. Chris was so intrigued to find out what happened to this girl that he immediately went to the boarding school where she had been staying before the tragedy. When he arrived and asked about this girl, Chris was completely surprised. The people in charge told him the story about this girl, saying that she was an immigrant named Dora. The girl lived with her grandmother in Mexico. She had a father who had crossed over to the United States, and he constantly told Dora that very soon he would send for her so they could finally be together and have a better life. The day finally came. Dora's father made arrangements with his brother, Dora's uncle, so that they could go together and cross into the United States. But Dora was very scared. Her father had told her stories about when he crossed and how difficult it can be. But so that Dora wouldn't be afraid, he told her not to worry, to see everything as an adventure or a journey inside a game. But Dora kept repeating to him, "What if I get lost, Dad?" With this, her dad tried to describe a few locations and landmarks so that Dora wouldn't get lost and would feel calmer. Weeks later, the day arrived. Dora said goodbye to her grandma and packed her backpack with the map her dad had described to her. During the whole trip, Dora felt completely overwhelmed and afraid of what might happen. Luckily, she was traveling with her uncle and her cousin, Diego, who, according to what Dora told them, really liked animals and dreamed of working at the Central Park Zoo. Diego tried to calm Dora down by showing her that everything would be all right. That's why he gave her a pink monkey stuffed animal, since Diego had brought several animal toys, but his favorite was a jaguar. Despite Diego's attempts to make Dora feel better, everything changed in the blink of an eye. On the night when they finally had to cross in the middle of the desert, several immigration agents intercepted them, causing everyone to panic and run in different directions. Dora didn't know what was happening and also ran aimlessly. But when she realized it, her uncle, her cousin Diego, and all the other people had disappeared. All that tragic night, Dora spent it scared and crying, waiting for dawn to see if her uncle and Diego would come back. But that never happened. The next day, Dora was lucky to be found by some agents and was taken to the immigration center. They tried to locate her family, but when they searched through her belongings, they only found her backpack, the pink monkey, and her map, with several routes that actually didn't lead anywhere. When they interviewed Dora, she only told them that she wanted to see her dad. Unfortunately, they were never able to locate Dora's father, and there was also no claim for the girl. And this is because Dora's dad found out, thanks to the news, that several bodies of immigrants were found in the desert, just one day after they were supposed to cross. The names of Cuauhtemoc Martinez and Diego Martinez were mentioned. So for Dora's father, it was a clear sign that his daughter had also died. Since she wasn't claimed, it was impossible to return Dora to Mexico. They didn't have a clear location or any family contact, so they had to take Dora to a boarding school. At that boarding school, Dora was mistreated and judged for having a different nationality, for not being able to communicate with others in English. The only thing Dora wanted was to find her dad, which is why she spent her time crying at the boarding school. One day, after so much mistreatment, Dora did everything she could to escape and go in search of her father. But unfortunately, 5 days later, Dora was found again in the desert, but this time without life. The only things that could be saved from her were her backpack, her map, and that doll her cousin gave her. Dora made one last attempt to meet her dad, but because of the harsh weather, the lack of direction, and her little experience, Dora couldn't make it. After learning about this whole tragic story, Chris was inspired to document it in the most creative way he could think of, creating the stories of Dora's adventures. He did this mainly because he believed that if there hadn't been any communication barriers or that racism, possibly Dora would still be alive and maybe she could have found her dad too. The show isn't just the typical show to entertain kids and give them that educational touch that might seem absurd to some. Chris focused on the fact that each episode can help children or even adults who go through situations where that communication can be very useful, even saving them from a life or death situation. It's said that Dora's belongings were simply thrown in the trash, but some want to believe that her father found out about Dora's death and went to collect them so he would never forget her. After this tragic story, Chris remained steadfast in his career until he was able to create an animated series that would honor the memory of this girl. Since the series was released, so many people liked it that it has been on the air for more than 2 decades. And in a way, Dora's series helped raise awareness about Hispanic culture among people all over the world. Anyway, friends, sometimes the most innocent stories hide the most painful truths. Dora, who was once a girl full of hope, ended up becoming a symbol for all those who dream of a better life. Her spirit lives on in every adventure of the show, reminding us that even on the darkest paths, there is always a spark of light. Maybe that's why millions of people grew up with her without knowing that behind her songs and smile, there was a story of loss, love and courage, a story that deserves to be remembered, not just seen on television. But what do you think about the sad story behind Dora the Explorer? Would you like us to tell you the story behind another character? We'll be reading your comments.